Hey everybody, Mr. Norris here. Today we are going to start a new project. We're going to do some screen printing. I'm going to show you how to turn these two images into a two-color t-shirt. It'll take a number of steps, so you're probably going to see the camera cut off and on for me to go through everything. Okay, now we're going to get to the first step in the process, which is adding light-sensitive emulsion to something called a scoop coater, and then I'm going to pull the emulsion onto the screen. But before we get started, we always have to remember our PPEs. I've got my gloves, I've got my glasses. Okay, let's see how this works. Now usually you get enough to where, as my buddy would say, we can coat 2 or 3 screens with it. This is probably just enough for one, but we may have enough for a couple more. Now you start at the bottom. I'm going to let the fountain just pull out a little bit of solution, and then I'm going to pull it. And this works a lot better than the washout. And we'll go ahead and get the full thing coated. And I got a little bit of run, I'll have to pull excess. Okay, when you got a little excess, which will probably happen, you give it a nice clean pull so the excess falls back into the tray. You want to get both sides. I may have put it a little bit heavy, but that's okay. It'll just make a good solid outline. Now I'm going to do the other side. Pull it. Now I'm going to go back and get the excess off of it. Hopefully along this process we will have some type of issue and we can address troubleshooting procedures to see what might go wrong. Now we'll go on to the next step. Now we need to get this out of the light because, like I said earlier, this stuff is light sensitive. It will expose just like film on a camera will. And now we're going to put it in high brightens darkroom. So more or less, it's a screen tray with a trash bag. Luckily the stuff is not so sensitive that that little bit of light will ruin it. Okay, now we move on to the next step. We are going to turn our printed design into a transparency to burn on the screen that is currently drying, and then we'll move on to the next step. So first, load the transparency into the printer, load my image into the printer, set it up for a transparency, and we run a copy. Now, we use the modern way. We print straight onto a transparency, we line this up, throw it on a screen. Okay, now we move on to yet another step. We're going to place our image onto the screen, send it to the light exposure unit, and we're going to burn this image into this photosensitive material. First thing we need to do, we're going to lay it wrong reading, which means it's going to look like it's backwards on the screen, because when I pick the screen up, it's going to read from left to right on my shirt. So I need to line it up. We use a T-square and my registration marks to kind of give me an idea of how it's going to look on the screen, and that'll save me a little bit of time when I go to printing the shirt. We look pretty square. Now I'm going to look left to right, try to see how close to center I might be. Okay, let's look at our inches. So we were about 4.5 inches. going to look at that. About 4.5 inches. I think that's close enough, so we'll just run with that. I'm going to tape it down, and I'm going to send it to the exposure unit. Pat, you want to follow me to the camera, or you think it'll reach from there? If you want, you can just
Go for it.
Oh, okay. You still videoing? So now we're going to expose our screen. See some of it that we've been working on lately is sitting over here. Little backing board. Okay, so I'm gonna lay my screen in here. We'll latch it down. Cut on my vacuum. Oh, we're not plugged up. I need to plug it up. You got me? Thank you, sir. Cut on our vacuum. We'll get all the air out of it. Once it gets sucked down tight, that shows that our image is pressed flat to the glass. That looks good. We have a preset timer. We're at 150 seconds, and I'm going to expose it. Okay, our next step, we need to wash out our image. So I'm going to peel off the transparency. And the first of a few processes, we're going to use the washout booth. So, use my pressure washer. Spray out my image. Watch closely. You'll see this image slowly start to appear. I'll tilt it so you can see.
Wait, there you go.
Okay, now we've got our washed out image, as you can see. And I'm going to hold it up to the light to make sure there aren't any blemishes in it. And it looks pretty good, so we'll move on to the next step and use our block out. Okay, now that our screen's dried, we're going to use a block out solution to cover up any part of the screen that we don't want ink to go through. You're just going to apply a small amount, spread it with a putty knife. Be sure to clean, or I'm sorry, block out as much of the screen as possible. screen. We may find pinholes somewhere in the screen when we go over there to print it out. What's that?
Did you just get that in the feed?
Maybe. Yeah, I may have a little too much. We'll have to wash it out. Okay, first mistake, right there we go. First troubleshooting right here. I got a little bit of my block out onto my screen, so I'm gonna have to go back and wash that out before we can finish. And there we go, good as new. Now we move on to the last step in the process. We're going to turn our screens into a two-color t-shirt. And for purposes of our class project, students are just going to make a one color, but I wanted to show the process. We'll get it done. First step I'm going to do, put a little non-toxic adhesive so I can make sure my shirt doesn't move. I use the back side of my hand so I can use the same glove. My hands get a little bit sweaty when I'm doing this, and I don't have to worry about it. My first run is just going to be a sample shirt to check my screen and my registration. We've got a small, so that'll be a little bit easier to line up than that extra large. I'm an extra large, so I gotta have a little bit bigger shirt. Looks like my shirt is lined up. I'm gonna get my sample. From where the logo starts, I'm gonna try to go 3 inches from the top. Now my first color is going to be, like I said, about 3 fingers from the top, maybe 4 inches or so. I'm going to use my second one because I would like to use the straight across text and use the T-square to make sure I'm squared up on the shirt. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my T-square. I'm going to line it up, square onto the shirt. Looks like we'll be about 3 inches from the logo, maybe down a little bit. Using these printer rulers. Now I'm going to check it. I want to be 3 fingers from both sides about. Needs to go this way. I'm going to recheck, just like using a ruler. We are lined up. Now I can tape it down. This is going to help me make sure my screens will be where they're supposed to be. There we go. Now, I'm going to go with my first screen to register it up. There are adjustments on my carousel. If I need to go up, down, left, right, tilt it. Luckily, these are set up already, and it's going to take a very small amount of adjustment. Oh, we're on pretty good already. Not a lot of room to mess around. Though we might be a little crooked. I'm doing my fine adjustments. This first one's going to be black. I'm going to use my black ink and a putty knife. I'm just going to get out enough black ink to coat this. You don't have to have tons, but it would be nice if you have enough to pull a few shirts instead of, you know, just this one run. I don't have a ton on it right now, but when we go into the process, maybe when the season starts, we'll run off a ton of them. We'll you know, a couple dozen shirts. Now that I'm lined up on my screen, let's make sure the shoe is in the foot one more time. We're lined up. Now, it's time to pull, make our first pull. I'm going to use this, I think it's an 8-inch, maybe a 10-inch squeegee. It might even be 12. I'm not sure we got so many. Oh, it looks like I got a little bit of ink on my shirt. Did we get some on the screen? Probably from my hands. Luckily, this is the warm-up. This is our practice run. So, I'm going to dab the ink, get some ink on my squeegee, and give it a nice, firm pull. Now, I may want to come back and give it one good flood just to see. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. We have our print. Now, next thing I want to do is swing it over the carousel, and we'll throw it over some heat. Sorry I had to break away again. Kind of cramped on time. So, now I'm going to pull my white ink over that black. We're going to have a two-color t-shirt. Now, white ink, for some reason, is a little bit thicker, so I'm going to give it a couple of extra pulls and flood this bad boy down. See what we come up with. Hopefully the first one didn't have any pinholes or anything. Let's make sure this one doesn't. Perfect. Now that is a good looking t-shirt. Let's flash it right quick and we'll show you what it looks like. Now that is my dryer. Sorry, I've got my inks right here just for ease of access since we're short on time. We'll flash it for about 30 seconds is all you need. Make sure it's dry. And then I'm going to move on personally and make some red t-shirts for my wrestling team. Alright guys, I want to give a quick demo on washing out our screens. I'm a little crunched on time, so I'm just going to go through the process real quick and I'll show you what a finished, clean, degreased screen looks like. First step. I use my screen opener ink remover. Just something to clean the screens out with. What's going to happen is we use my sponge after I've let this sit for a minute or two. And I'm just going to scrub it out. See how this is starting to come clean? Opening up my screen, it's removing the ink and the emulsion at the same time. Of course, I want to do this side. I know I've got a little bit of tape, but this remover actually will lift the adhesive material of the tape off as well. Alright, I hate to do it. I'm going to have to cut to the next scene, show me opening the screen and the finished product. Now, I got all the emulsion and all the ink off the screen. Next step and final step for this project, degreaser. This is going to get all the chemicals off this screen. It's going to be ready to put emulsion on and to print all over again. And like I said, we're short on time, so I'm just going to give a quick demo. Now, normally it'll be a dry sponge, one that's not had the ink or the emulsioner or a solvent or anything on it. And you're just going to work the degreaser into it. Does not take very much at all. Then we rinse it out. Now, we'll set that to the side and let it dry. We're ready to start all over again. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks, guys.